Hey, what's up? It's Earth Roamer, and this video is about a private pilot license and the pilot shortage, and how I think a lot of people are thinking of taking the opportunity of the pilot shortage to get into flying. And this is a person that has over roughly about 40 something hours of flight time pursuing a private pilot license. I started pursuing this about a year and some months ago, not the flying, but studying. And then I began flying late last year, off and on. And I'll just tell you there's a lot of YouTube videos of people that have been through this program and their advice and everything. And I'm getting to the point where I don't think that this program is worth it. Not only is it extremely expensive, but it is the most risky program that I've ever been involved in. And originally, I wanted to start this program right off the bat with 0 hours into ATP. And so I didn't do that, fortunately. I'll go over the cost of what it really takes to get all your licenses, and also you have to factor in that almost all airlines aren't going to hire you unless you have a bachelor's degree in something. And that was the biggest motivation for me getting into this, is because I have a bachelor's degree in something that I don't want to do with my life. And when I found out pilot shortage, they want bachelor's degrees in anything, I was like, well, I have a bachelor's degree debt-free, maybe I should get into flying. And now that I've got about 40 something hours of flying, I'm starting to back out of this program a little bit upon realizing more and more just what it takes for you to really succeed in this. I'm not necessarily giving up. I'm almost 30 years old and I have to be realistic with myself. And I'm starting to realize that this isn't necessarily, I think, what I want to do with my life. And I'll start out with the cost of this and why this is just absolute insanity. And I would like to throw in there places like Europe pay people to go to pilot school. The United States is going to have to figure out something if they want more pilots with the cost of this, because 99.99999% of the population right now is not working with enough money to get a bachelor's degree, and flight training can cost around $100,000. ATP will get you that's not the school I'm going to, but I'm using ATP as an example. This is a fast track program that takes you from 0 hours all the way to the airlines, and it costs about $100,000. They'll give you a whole $100,000 loan, which is horrifying amount of debt to go into, especially when you realize what it takes to do this. So anyways, I'm sitting at about 40 something hours of flight time. 40 hours alone of flight time has cost me $10,000. Fortunately, I am only about $3,000 in debt over this, so it's not life crippling. I've spent about $7,000 of my own money in flight training, and man, where do I begin with just how much this really takes to do? So I've hit some obstacles here and there getting to where I am, but I've hit just like this giant obstacle to where if I fly more than an hour or an hour and a half, or when I enter an airport in a plane, I'm sitting there staring at if I don't have the Garmin G1000 telling me where the runways are, for an example, I'll sit there, and I've been flying for an hour just trying to process so much. You really do have to be a very smart person to do this. And everybody always told me before I started this, it's 15% flying, 85% knowledge. My ass, dude, my ass. It's the flying that is screwing me up. The knowledge is no problem. I've read the whole private pilot manual and I have all of that down. The knowledge is in my brain. It's the flying and the cost of the flying that's killing me in this program. You sit there and you want to do 1 hour of flight training. That's about 250 plus the money you have to give to your CFI, your certified flight instructor. An hour of flight training comes out to about $300. 1 hour, $300. It's absolute insanity. And if you're a quick learner, I would say that you could probably get this done. But there are so many questions that will never be answered till you get there in this program. And I want to see this through to getting my private pilots. I've come so far in this. I put so much time and effort into getting this that I want to get finish with my private pilot's license. But there's so many. Do I think that I could really pull off getting an instrument rating, a commercial license? I have to be real with myself. I don't think I could do it. The amount of focus and pure stealth and intelligence that you have to really do this is complete insanity. There's people that get their private pilots, they even get their instrument rating, and then they might get to their commercial multi-CFI, the airline transport pilot license, and they may start screwing up as they get further into this. They might start screwing up, and they're sitting there $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 of debt, realizing they've hit their limit. They financially can't go any further. They have hit their limit on how far in their intelligence, their brain power is, to where they can't get past an obstacle. And I'm sitting here right now with about 40 something hours of flight time, and I'm already hitting big obstacles. And there's people, everybody's different. Everybody's mind works completely different. There's people that'll tell me they got their private pilots in 40 hours. And I'm like, how? Like, how in the world did you do this in 40 hours? I'm probably looking at about 80 hours is what I'd guess to get this, another $10,000 to get this license. And this is why I've canceled my flights for now, and I've just said I've got to sit and think about this for a while, because the cost is no joke, and the program in general is extremely hard. And a lot of people, it's hilarious that people think that flying is just easy. It's not. And it's not even about the flight training too. The check rides, I have not yet done a check ride. I've done like a solo check ride, but not an actual FFA check ride where they have somebody come, and to get your license, your certifications, you have to pass these tests where not only is extreme pressure on you, but you have to be, for an example, in a traffic pattern and maintain above and below 100 altitude. Also, when you're doing a maneuver, for an example, if you do something like you lose 100 feet of altitude, for an example, during a check ride, automatic fail. $20,000. You spent $20,000 on this ad. Doesn't matter, which is understandable. It's flying. You have to like be pretty damn good at it. There's lives at stake. But the risk, evaluating the risk of this program, is almost becoming. I can't be a delusional person. I'm almost 30 years old, and just evaluating the risks of maybe I get a private pilot license, I get into an instrument rating, and that is, getting an instrument rating is no joke. It is a struggle, and it's horrifying just thinking that how far I've gotten into this and how it might just not work out. But I might be doing myself a favor, not ruining my life with a bunch of debt. The school I go to is next door to ATP. Originally, I wanted to go to the ATP program, and the ATP program takes you on a fast track in 9 months. You can't have a job because of the workload. In 9 months, they get you from 0 hours to the airlines, and it cost about $100,000. Originally, I wanted to do this, and I thank Jesus Christ every day that this is not what I did, because this is, I don't even have to sit here and explain why I'm glad I didn't go to ATP. So my school is next door, and I said, before I do something like ATP, I want to get a private pilot's license, which is the first step in becoming a pilot. A private pilot's license can cost you anywhere from $10,000, which you are insanely lucky if it costs you that cheap. It's usually about $20,000 is what a private pilot license costs. And I said, I'm going to pursue this private pilot license next door at this aviation school that's FFA approved and everything. And I was like, if I do well on this, maybe I'll go to ATP after. And I'm glad that this is the route I've took. I dove into it, and there was 1 week where I paid for, before I did a solo assessment, I did a 3 or 4 day in a row pilot training to get ready for my solo assessment. This 4 days cost me about $800 in 4 days of flight training. The cost of this is outrageous, and they have got to do something about it if they want to fix this pilot shortage, because who is working with this kind of money? Not many people are working with this kind of money. People are going in insane debt to do this. All the CFIs at my school, the certified flight instructors that have their bachelor's degrees that they went in debt over, and their all their flight certificates, they may have a CFII, a CF commercial. They all are over $100,000 in debt. And that is horrifying to me, to put to a position that is insanely hard to get in this world. Putting yourself in $100,000 in debt to get it is not worth it to me. And these guys that are doing this, not only are they very sharp individuals, and they know that this is what they're going to do and they will get there. You know, there's people that'll oppose me warning of this and saying, like, by saying that, like, you just have to work hard. It, like, yes, I understand where you're coming from when you say that, but like, is it worth the risk of $100,000 of debt for a maybe? It is a maybe, no matter who you are. To get a position in the airlines, you have to go above and beyond in this program. And I just don't think that the debt is worth it. And I'm sitting here doing, for an example, like slow flight, power off stalls, power on stalls, short field takeoffs and all this. And 1 out of 3 times that I do it, I'll maybe put my flaps down to 30 before I get to 55 knots. If this was a check ride, I would fail it. Just for, your check rides have to be perfect. And, you know, practice makes perfect, but I'm starting to think it's not worth it. And I'm going to slowly continue to pursue this private pilot's license, maybe one flight lesson a week at a time while I think it out. And I think that for people that want to get into this, especially if you don't have a college education, that you really should think twice before you start sinking money into this, because I'm really starting to think about it. And the pros and cons are not, I'm starting to think it might not be worth it, and I might start pursuing some other endeavors in my life. But yeah, there's people on YouTube that you can go and find that have similar stories. People that have gotten, for an example, they're private pilots. Maybe they got their instrument. The instrument is usually where people find out if they're capable of doing this or not. There's people that have gotten all the way up to their airport transport pilot. They haven't failed a single check ride, and they get all the way up to this and they fail that check ride. It's absolutely horrifying, and there's no doubt in my mind that there's a pilot shortage, with how the insanity of the cost and the insanity of learning how to fly precisely, perfectly, it's the highest standards I've ever encountered in any endeavors I've gone through in my life. And I think anybody wanting to pursue becoming a pilot should really sit here and be real with themselves, because you know there's literally 18 or 19-year-old kids over at my school that are capable of doing this. They have the mental capacity. You really just have to dive into it if you really want to check it out, see if you think it's worth it, because I'm personally starting to think it's not worth it. It's one of the most insane endeavors. I think, like, if you have military experience, I'm too old to join the military. I don't want to join the military. I wouldn't die for this country. If you have the military mindset where you've gone through like basic training and you have a very strong mindset where you think you could handle this, I think that military experience would override having a bachelor's degree in this. Maybe not the qualifications. A bachelor's degree is superb for flight training. But as far as being successful with the program, I think that military experience would be the number one thing that would create someone to have a strong enough mindset to really be able to pull off becoming a pilot. Because I'm starting to think that my limitations are going to be reached when I get to the instrument rating. I think still that I could get a private pilot's license if I really want to keep putting the money into it. As far as the instrument rating goes, I don't think I have the brain power to handle it. And I'm starting to think of pursuing other endeavors in my life, because I refuse to put myself in $100,000 of debt from Navy. That's insane. In Europe, they pay people to go to flight school. They don't have to put themselves in $100,000 in debt. So if you come across this video and you're thinking about becoming a pilot, my advice would be, do not go to a fast track program like ATP. Go to a FFA approved school and work on a private pilot's license and get yourself in a maximum of $10,000 in debt before you really question yourself on wanting to go any further. Because that's my limit. I'm technically only in $3,000 of debt on this. I've spent over $10,000, and about $3,000 of that is the debt I've taken on. And even that debt is a little horrifying to me with how expensive things are in America. And yeah, that would be my advice to anybody, is if you're thinking of going into this with zero time to a fast track program, you need to go try to get a private pilot's license before you go and pursue this any further, to save yourself the headache of being thousands upon thousands of dollars in debt and finding out that it's not for you. So that's my advice for anybody that's interested in pursuing a pilot's license during this pilot shortage, because I was wanting to take advantage of this opportunity, and it's a huge opportunity right now. But flight training is no joke. It is tough. It is hard. And the people that succeed in it are usually the type of people that get A's in Calculus 1 and Calculus 2. So I hope you enjoyed this. You can leave any comments or questions about flight training below, or anything else you want me to talk about. Earth Roamer, this is my experience in learning how to fly planes. See you later.